The MBE boys will be live and interactive very shortly, guys. Stay tuned.
Ah, screw that shite. Alright, how you doing?
Hello and welcome to this Monday's edition of Movie News here at MBE. We are live and interactive, and we thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and our Twitch stream. In the background you can hear John C. Walsh. How are you doing, John? Did you have a lovely weekend? We were working on a lot of MBE stuff.
I was working all weekend.
Yeah.
In a literal sense and in an MBE sense, I had a fabulous weekend, Steve. And I always have a good week. Always weekend. I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy. I'll
tell
life.
you something, John. The highlight of my weekend was all that snow was washed away by the rain.
Yes. Not when I was walking my dog in it, though.
You don't get more Scottish than that. You're excited for some rain.
Yes. Stephen, I'm never excited for rain. I hate rain. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. Instead of sand, I hate water. It gets everywhere. Shite.
It does.
Yep.
It does. According to Bruce Lee, it does. It bends and it cracks.
Be water, my friend. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Put it in a teapot, it becomes a teapot, yeah. Anyway, John, let's not get down that rabbit hole. We are talking about Spike Lee. That is our thumbnail, that is our headline, and he would consider directing a Marvel movie. This is coming in from Screen Rant. Spike Lee reveals...
Oh, it's last week's. Oh, no.
He doesn't mind
Stephen?
Marvel movies and would consider directing an MCU film if the right opportunity comes across. I'm just going to read a little bit of this
and I'll quickly
quote
walk
coming
away,
from
Stephen,
Spike
furiously.
Lee. Yeah, I'll slow down then. Give you a chance to fix that.
Furiously.
Spike Lee has now expressed a willingness to join the MCU ranks. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he seemed unbothered by the studio's reputation and revealed his preference is Marvel to DC. He said, I have nothing against Marvel. I grew up reading Spider-Man comic books. To me, DC Comics was always corny. I don't agree with that. I'm just saying I was all about Marvel. If the right opportunity comes across, I'm not campaigning for it, but I will give it consideration. Now, John, before I hand it over to you, reading this article, I'm going to choose my words very carefully here with my sort of thought process behind this. And the obvious thing people would be saying, bring him in for Black Panther 3, etc, etc. No.
I'll tell you why, Steve, because Ryan Coogler is Black Panther, and I can't imagine any other director doing it. That guy's
don't want anyone touching that.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly, John. And Spike Lee throughout his film career has always dealt with oppression and discrimination. And what band of heroes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe comes under that banner, John?
I'm trying to do my best. Charles Xavier and Eric, aka Magneto. Steve, the X-Men.
I would love to see him doing that. Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see him doing an X-Men film, John.
Stephen, I'd like to see him doing an X-Men movie as well, because as you did say, this guy is great at touching in at the sort of suppression and at intolerance and at into hatred and stuff like that. We've seen that explored in many of his movies before. He is great. He's just a great filmmaker, Stephen. I just love Spike Lee, period. I was looking at photographs of this guy trying to put together a thumbnail. He's so cool. This guy's 63. He's got
the colour purple.
Yep, he loves the colour purple. He's got a youthful energy. He's just a great dresser. I love the guy. I love his enthusiasm. I love his filmmaking. I personally don't know if I would want to see him do a Marvel movie, but if I did, then I would like to see him do the Marvel movie that you mentioned, Stephen. I'll go to me and give you a break. The reasons why, and I wrote a little note down just so I would remember this, because I'm quite forgetful at times. The reasons why I wouldn't like to see him perhaps delving into the Marvel side of things is because I view this guy in the same light as I view a Tarantino and a Chris Nolan. He's very much an independent filmmaker. He has his own independent movies set within his brain, his own universe, and I don't know if he would mesh into the sort of formulaic stories that a Kevin Feige and an Alan Horn and a Marvel and a Disney would lay out for this guy? Could he work within the confines of someone else's universe, someone else's sandbox? I don't know if he could. But of course, Nolan famously done Batman, and he gave his own new, fresh take on the character. It was grounded in humanity and realism. It was gritty, and they were amazing. And of course, Tarantino was ready to delve into Star Trek and give us an R-rated Star Trek movie. And who wouldn't want to see James Tiberius Kirk yelling at someone to fuck off or something like that? It'd be absolutely amazing. Set phasers to Malky, as we used to say. So I'd love to see that personally. Stephen, I'm not adverse to it. I'd love to see Spike Lee delving into Marvel. It's just getting the right story for him. He says he grew up with Spider-Man. Spider-Man has traditionally always been my favourite Marvel character. You wouldn't think it with the shield behind me and Mjolnir in my hands. I'm a big Captain America fan since the movies because he's just a great human story. This guy's the ultimate good, the ultimate moral compass. He can't be corrupted. And that's why I ultimately don't want to see an evil Steve Rogers coming back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was something that was toyed with. But Spider-Man as well is one of my all-time favourites. I grew up playing the games. He's just a great character. And it was a character who was almost skewed towards the minority community by the great Stan Lee. And who was the other one? I always blank on his name. The other amazing writer who was the sort of the dynamic duo. Kirby, is it? I don't know if it is Kirby. But
he's no, I don't think it's him.
It wasn't Kirby. But it was skewed towards the minority community. Stan Lee done a great sort of monologue on Spider-Man, how it was for people who were different, and if people who were different could become something. They didn't have to be alienated and be belittled. They could be something. So it was a great universal character. So it was great to see that someone like me grows up loving Spider-Man, someone like Spike Lee can grow up loving Spider-Man. It's for everybody, and it empowers people. And look what that guy's done with his life since then. So it's all about the right project. It's all about, if it is X-Men, I don't want to see Black Panther though, it's too cliched.
No, well, exactly. And I don't want to see Miles Morales, Spike Lee dealing with that. It's too obvious and too cliche, as you said, John.
Yeah.
It also depends on the director, how he feels about commitment to, certain projects, because, there's probably a handful of directors out there that's dealt with MCU films like sort of one and dones.
Yep.
But it really depends on the sort of franchise, that part of the franchise as well, whether it be a one and done. I can't imagine him getting a Spider-Man film, just because I think we're moving into the third movie now. Tom Holland doesn't want to play Spider-Man all his life anyway. I think it'd have to be something that's not been done before for Spike Lee. I think that's something that would interest him, something that's not been portrayed on the screen so far. Whether that be something relatively lower level or something like Fantastic Four or the X-Men, who knows? It just really depends on how he feels as well. I'm like you. I'd rather he didn't. I prefer Spike Lee films. I prefer Quentin Tarantino films. There's something very unique about their filmmaking. There's something very different, and
it's almost
they build their own worlds. And that's what I like. Especially Tarantino. He's created his own little universe there, and very much like Spike Lee, I don't really want to see him being restricted in his art, which he would be. Let's be honest, he would be with a big corporation like Marvel.
Because everything interconnects, Stephen. And whilst they do, we've seen the likes of Chloe Zhao say that they are immensely helpful and they do offer freedom within the confines of the movie, there is always a reel, if you'd like, for the lack of a better term, you have to remain glued to, because they will have plans.
That's why Edgar Wright had to step away from that, man.
And it's a travesty, Stephen. I've got the Shaun of the Dead poster here. I'll need to get that up at some point.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright, I love Edgar Wright, man. I want to see him coming back to Marvel at some point. He mentioned a couple of weeks ago he'd made contact with Kevin Feige. They'd spoke, so hopefully we can get that guy's unique brain in. The more unique brains we can get in making movies for Marvel and DC, the better it will be. We don't want these formulaic, bog standard, paint by numbers superhero movies. We want something different, like Logan and a James Mangold. Only a guy like that could come in and give us a uniquely different story like that. So Spike Lee will come in and give you a unique story, Stephen. And again, that we were speaking about it before we came on, this guy's got that subtlety with the comedy that would lend itself well to a Marvel movie. We've seen it with Black Cat, we've seen it recently with The Five Bloods. He can juggle multiple themes, multiple genres, multiple sort of emotions within one scene, like a Taika Waititi. So a unique guy, a unique filmmaker. I personally want to see him remaining unique and doing his own stories, because he's, who knows how long he's got left making films. He's not old though, he's 63, he's got years left. But if he wants to try his hand and the project's right, then why the hell not, man? I want to see great Marvel movies, and this guy would give us a great Marvel movie. So I'm all for it.
Why the hell not? You're right, John. But we're going to move on to our next topic, and we're going to stay on Marvel, and it's Disney as well. Disney are reportedly, they have 4 weeks to decide on Black Widow's release date. Disney reportedly has 3 to 4 weeks to make another decision on Black Widow's release date, which many expect to be delayed again. This is coming in from Screen Rant once more.
My thoughts are
John, I was so looking forward to this film, and now I don't care now.
Yep.
I really just don't care now. It's Scarlett Johansson I feel sorry for more than anyone, because she put everything into this role. I can imagine when she was told about the pending death of the character in Endgame. I can imagine the discussion between her and possibly Kevin Feige was, but just hold on, Scarlett. You will be back for one more film, your own film, Origins film. And, you know, it's been painstaking. It's been a long year or 2 years now since, that was first announced. But according to Variety, a call on Black Widow's release date should be made in the next 3 to 4 weeks. This tidbit was part of the outlet's coverage on upcoming summer 2021 movies that will probably be delayed, including Black Widow and F9.
It's a great
This
shot.
timeline, that's a fantastic shot. This timeline for Black Widow adds up, as 4 weeks from now is mid-March. The movie is supposed to come out in May, so if Disney is going to stick to that date, they'll have to rev up their marketing campaign in the spring. There hasn't been a Black Widow trailer since last March. I can't believe that was a year ago that we saw that trailer. And I actually can't really remember it. I remember it came out. I can't really remember what happened in it.
I seen a trailer in the theatres. I'm sure there was a trailer for this when we went to see Tenet, and it looked amazing. And it sounded so good as well in the theatres. I remember that.
I think it was when you went to see it, John. I don't think it was when I went to see it.
Might not have been. It was that and Bond, No Time to Die, that stuck in my mind. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
The soundscape. And Stephen, I'd still like to see this movie in a theatre when the time is right. But as you says, and I can only echo your sentiments, I'm getting bored with this now. I says it before. If they had to delay it again, just get it on the streaming service and move on. This character's dead and buried. There's no future prospects for this character. There is for the one sitting on the bike behind her, Yelena, of course, Florence Pugh. Quite amusing to me that they find the only female actor smaller than Scarlett Johansson probably out there to portray a character, because she's teeny as well, Scarlett. But there's a future for her, but do we need to see that in a theatre for it to have ramifications and interconnect into future storytelling? I don't think we do. I think it can go on a streaming service. Premium rental, like we got with Mulan, like we got with Raya, whatever it is, Raya and The Last Dragon. I don't particularly need to see this movie in the theatres now. I think we need to see Eternals, we need to see Shang-Chi, we need to see Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. They're all movies we need to see in theatres. Exactly. It's like Bond, Stephen. I'm bored with Bond now as well. Just get it out any way possible and move on to the next Bond. It's holding up the successor to Daniel Craig being announced. I just want it done, man. I'm bored with it. It's in the past. The character's dead. As you says, in a perfect world, this character would have had her heyday, her swan song. I'll move to me and give you a break, Stephen, because I know I hammer you all the time. You're always on the screen and I get off scot-free. I have my break, so I'll give you a little break. In an ideal world, it would have had its swan song. No COVID. No one could have foreseen a pandemic coming, apart from maybe some pesky lab rat or something like that. So it could have been out. They could have moved the character on. They could have shook hands, passed the baton over to Florence Pugh. Yelena, she becomes the next Black Widow. We go into phase 4 and beyond of the MCU, and everyone lives happily ever after. But it's not played out like that. We've got a pandemic. It's been delayed 3-4 times or something now. We're into 2021. May's not going to happen. It's not getting a May release here. We're not coming out of lockdown to the extent where we're allowed into a theatre. In numbers, to give this movie a success, so sort of stint at the box office by May, ain't going to happen. So I don't know what the answers are. Do they just keep delaying this movie again and again and again and again until it hits the theatres, holding up all the other slate of Marvel movie releases? in the process. I don't think you do. I think you give it 4 weeks. If it's not right to release in Europe, then you delay it again, or you get it on the streaming service. Ultimately, they're going to do what's best for the United States, though, Stephen. That's the main market. If the United States is ready to get it, then it will get it. If it's not, then it won't. They don't care about Europe.
I don't see this film being any bigger than Wonder Woman 1984, to be honest with you. And you can say what you want about Wonder Woman 1984. That didn't flop because it was on a streaming service. It was a poor film.
It was.
You know?
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's third installment was on the streaming service and succeeded because it didn't. Well, I know it's a different kind of film, but a different budget and stuff like that. But it's either going to be. It's in the can, you know. Exactly. Look at Mulan.
It done okay. Yeah. Look at Trolls World Tour. It done okay. If the movie's good enough and enough people want to watch it, then it'll do okay. It's never going to hit the successes of a theatrical release at the box office. This mixed sort of release that we're seeing with HBO Max, it's just never going to happen. To get the kind of numbers you got pre-COVID, you have to have it in a theatre. It's just facts. But the world ain't ready to go to a theatre yet unless you're in New Zealand or Australia or some states in the United States. You're certainly not ready here, Stephen. We're not going to be in a theatre come May. We've still not had a chance to watch Wonder Woman official. Legit.
I
watched it illegitimately months ago, and I wish I hadn't because it was shit. Hopefully this movie's good, Stephen, and we finally get to see it at some point.
I do believe it will be a good film.
I
do believe it will be. It will be a good film. You know it will be a good film. It's an interesting character. We're delving back into, maybe not right back to her origins. There'll be some kind of flashbacks there, similar to Wonder Woman with the little girl playing the young Diana.
Steve, I've never had a bad Marvel movie yet, and Taskmaster's in there. It looks like a cool villain.
There's been ones that have been a little bit more, not as good, but it doesn't make them a bad film. For the Dark World, but they're good films. Yeah, they're still decent films, and I think Black Widow's got a lot of potential. And you're right. I think setting up. I can't remember the actress's name, Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh, Yelena.
I think her character, that's the important thing here as well. This film is not going to have a massive effect on Phase 4 anyway. It's not going to be leading into anything other than those characters getting propelled into the MCU from the movie. But as far as the main character, Black Widow, goes, it's not really going to go anywhere other than where we already know it's going.
Yep.
It's not going to affect Eternals. It's not going to affect Shang-Chi or anything like that. But it's still on the slate. It still has to be released. It still has to get out there before they can move forward. That's just the way they are. And I don't know. I think it's just best if they just put it out on the streaming service. And I think that's where it will end up. I think politics has got a lot to play with it as well. I think if this was another film, a Spider-Man film or something like that, it'd be a different story. It's Black Widow. She's been built up because of previous films. She's had to wait a decade to get to that sort of mantle. And let's just get it out. If they've got 3 or 4 weeks, I can't see this being in the cinema. I cannot see this going to theatres.
Stephen, they're not even promoting it. They say it in the article. They're not even promoting it. It's not coming out in May. It's getting delayed. They're hell bent on releasing this in the theatres, when I think they should just take their loss, get it out in the streaming service, and then move on to the bigger new releases and get them into the theatres when it opens up. Steve, it's not going to be long for it to open up here and in Europe. Give it 5 months and things will be back to a degree of normality. The vaccine's ripping through these countries like the United Kingdom and stuff like that, so we'll be back to a degree of normality by the end of this year. We can start watching the likes of Shang-Chi and things like that. Stephen, you're frozen a little bit there. You're back though.
Yeah, so did you, John.
Did I? No, I was okay.
You sounded like a Dalek.
Oh Christ! I hope I didn't sound like that in the actual stream. I'm hoping that I can't hear myself. But Stephen,
if you want to go with me just now, John, you can check that sound and a bit of playback. But I was just going to say, John, you're right. I think probably territorial. They could release this film, in Australia and New Zealand to begin with, work their way back the way, if you like. I don't know what way they work normally, but look at the way of the world at the moment with the COVID situation and see where's best placed, populated to release a film of this size. and take it from there, because 4 or 5 months from now, the world hopefully, sure it will be, because it looks like it's heading in the right direction, unless something else comes out. But I think that's probably the best way to do it. If they're going to do it, then that's the best way to do it. Release it in Australia first. Release it, in New Zealand, and work your way to all the areas, all the territories in the US that are a bit more possible to release it in, and just take it from there. They're going to have to make this decision very quickly, though. That's the thing.
Yep, and make it quick and just put it on the streaming service and let everyone be done with it. We can stop hearing about goddamn Black Widow and just move on to Shang-Chi, the Eternals, Spider-Man, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just move on, get it out and move on, man. Stephen, I listened to the audio. I sounded fine and dandy, so it's all good from what I can.
We're going to move on, John, but we are talking about another delay here coming in from John Carpenter, the legend that he is, composer, filmmaker, director, writer, man of many talents. Well, he also created Halloween, and Halloween Kills may have to release on streaming, admits John Carpenter. Halloween creator John Carpenter admits that the Halloween Kills may have to release on streaming at the same time it comes out in theatres. No different, is it, really, to some of the releases anyway? Yeah. In an interview with famed British music magazine NME, I used to buy that, used to read it, loved it, kind of went downhill after the 1990s, but I think that was more to do with the music. But Carpenter spoke about the chances of the second new Halloween film being released on streaming at the same time it comes out in theatres, and conceded that this is indeed a possibility. He said, sure, Halloween may be shared that way because theatres are dead. It's just the reality right now, and it's a tragedy, but it's true. We just have to face it. The studio did contact David and I, and they had us put off the new one by a year in the hope that things got better. So we are still hoping it will get better. John, we were talking about Candyman the other day, and horror movies in the
has
cinema.
To be seen in the theatres, apparently. Has to be.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen a Halloween film in the theatres. Or did we go and see the one from 2017, or did I just wait for the... I think I did see that. I did go and see that in cinema, yeah.
I can't recall, man. It was a blur. It was shit, Stephen. Let's not admit it right now. This is going to be controversial. It disappointed me. It's a bore fest. It disappointed me. I thought they built it up. It was supposed to be a new era of Halloween. It was ultimately just a passing of a baton, but it wasn't really a passing of a baton to the daughter, the granddaughter. It was just disappointing. The only thing that stood out to me was two moments. The ending, him in the basement, and the little fat kid in the garden getting cut up in that dark garden. That was it. Everything else was shit to me.
And it was it was a horror equivalent to Terminator. That last Terminator, Dark Fate.
See, I'm holding out hope that David Gordon Green, I think it is, it's involved in that, is going to do something better with these two movies. They will be more interesting, more unique in their sort of concept. I was pinning all hopes on it being a psychological thriller. I've got my old on my hand again. I've got a fidgeting issue. I've got a nervous issue, clearly. I was holding out hope that it would be a psychological, eyes looking to the shadows, but Michael's not really there. And he pops up at the end, and we would discover that he survived the basement. But it looks as though he's gone off in a different direction. They flat out cut right from the end of the first Halloween movie. The fire trucks are going by. He gets out of the basement, and apparently it is going to have psychological elements. There's going to be a huge body count. I don't really care if this movie comes out in the theatres or not, Stephen. It's not one of my hugely anticipated movies of this year. I don't think I put it in my top 10. I'd need to get back. I may have put it in, and I may be on crack here, but I'm pretty sure I didn't.
No, I don't think you did.
If it has to hit a streaming service, then it hits a streaming service. It is what it is. As Joe Pesci says in The Irishman, it is what it is. I don't think it will, though, Stephen. I don't think by Halloween this year we will be in the same sort of severity of a situation with COVID as we are right now. I certainly hope we aren't anyway. As I just says, I hope we're opening up quite a bit by summer, getting into later this year. And the releases that are penned for later this year will come out in the theatres to some extent. But he's right, the theatres are dead. Lord knows what state we are going to be in by the end of this year, man. Are we going to have an AMC, a Cinemark, a Regal over in the States, a Cineworld, a View, an Odeon over here? We don't know what companies are going to survive through this pandemic. They've not been doing business for months now, so they are dead.
John,
so it's a sad situation.
kind of feel sorry for the franchise as well, because unlike Black Widow or James Bond or whatever, it has to have an October slot. It has to have a Halloween slot. You know, that's why they've had to delay it the whole year,
Although
not just 6 months.
Do you remember they done the switcheroo? Some animated movie done a switcheroo. Was it Aladdin? Not Aladdin, Adam's Family. I think switcheroo.
John, I'm hearing I don't know if you were rubbing that mic there or not, but
No.
I was hearing a kind of fuzzy noise there.
No, I've not been rubbing it. I may have rubbed it with the beard. I don't know. Is that the same noise, Stephen? I have no idea.
No, they're definitely static there, John.
Oh shit. Right, what we'll
you
do,
may
right?
want to go to a screen
Well,
just now just to check.
We'll do a be right back, right? That's what we'll do, man. And we are back again, Stephen. I think we did have some static. I heard a brief little inkling of static. When I cut away, I went back and listened. This mic is supposed to be decent. I've got an audio interface here. It's supposed to be decent. I'm plugging them in. And we're getting fucking static, Stephen. So I don't know what is going on here. I don't know. Something's amiss. But I've disconnected it. I've plugged it back in. Hopefully we're back to being decent once again. I'll go to me, Stephen, and I'll let you briefly check the sound, and you can tell me if we've got static still. But Stephen, as I did say, Halloween Kills, man, it's an interesting little concept that we've got going on here. He makes it out. We're going to have psychological sort of elements with the original OG cast from 77, was it, the original Halloween movie? They're going to be coming back. We're going to have some group therapy sessions. There's going to be a high body count. And if it does hit the theatres, then I will be happy. I'll go and watch it. I'm sure I will. And hopefully it's better than that first movie, the David Gordon Green trilogy, sort of first movie. And we can all be happy. The franchise blossoms. And it hits the theatres. If not, man, if it hits a streaming service, if we're still in the shit with COVID, so be it, man. I'll be happy either way. I'll still watch the movie. I'll still give my money to David Gordon Green. I'll still give my money to who is it that's involved with this? Who is the studio that's involved with Halloween? I do not know. I'm going to get back to the white shot, Stephen. I think you're back and ready to roll. Does the audio sound good?
It sounds brilliant.
Fan-dabby-dozy, as we like to say.
It's like we're in the same room, John.
Fantastic. Stephen, I've not got much more to say about Halloween Kills. I can't lie. I think we have to move on.
I think we do, and I think we should, and I think we will look forward to the next topic as well, John. It's because it's all about your superhero at the moment. Thalapathy Vijay.
Yes.
Yeah, the main man. And Gautham Menon to team up for a new project. Here's what we know. This is coming in from pinkvilla.com.
What a name.
Very fancy name, that. Now, John, I'm just going to read a little bit of this now. We watched our first Thalapathy Vijay film last week. We reviewed it on Friday. The Master, and thoroughly enjoyed it. The review's up on their channel if anyone wants to check it out. Now, the superstar is said to have begun working on his next project soon. On the other hand, fans might surely remember Johan Adiham Adru, helped by Gautham Menon, which was supposed to feature Vijay. However, the project was later dropped. Now it seems like the actor-director duo will team up for a fresh new project soon. Recently, during an interaction with a media house, Menon has said that Thalapathy Vijay's close associate has asked him to prepare a script for the latter. This piece of news is sure to leave the fans excited. However, the filmmaker also added that he isn't sure if Vijay is aware of his close associate asking for a new script to be penned down. But Gautham Menon adds that he is hopeful about getting to work with the South Star soon. On the other hand, Vijay is all set to shoot for his upcoming venture, which has now been tentatively titled Thalapathy 65. Cool name. The much talked about movie has been directed by Nelson Dilip Kumar. John, what is your take on this? Very exciting news.
Yep.
And the man keeps himself busy. We are just beginning this journey, this Thalapathy Vijay journey. We've already watched The Master. We reacted to Biggle the other night.
Yep.
Some interesting comments on that trailer reaction. But we are trying to work our way through as many Indian films as possible. But this seems to be the sort of route we're taking just now.
Yep.
Just because we're in awe of the man, aren't we? He's just, there's something about him. There's just something.
Stephen, he has an energy. He has an energy
Yeah.
of a man half his age. He is some actor. I've seen that from Master. I've seen it from snippets from other trailers we've looked at. We have reacted to 2 now, I do believe. Biggle and what was the other one we reacted to? Was it Cafe? I don't know if it was Cafe. We've reacted to 2. And the general sense I'm getting from this guy is he's very passionate. He's charismatic as hell. He's an amazing actor. And he is busy as well. And the other thing I've took from this, Stephen, if you're froze again, I'll go to me. Hopefully you come back at some point. You are back. You're off screen. I don't know what's going on with this connection tonight. This will all be gone, Stephen, by March 1st when we do get high speed fibre straight to premises fibre, man. We'll begin up a level with these streams, do believe me. There's no limit to what we can do. And Stephen, there certainly seems to be no limit to what Thalapathy can do, because he's got his associate going to directors and asking them to make scripts for him. You don't see that in Hollywood. You do not see actors, apart from maybe DiCaprio and a handful of other actors maybe in Hollywood, who have the power to go to a filmmaker, to a studio and say, prepare a script for me and I'll work with you. That's not something you see in Hollywood all that often. So that's the other thing I've took for it. The other thing is obviously that he had a failed movie, not a failed movie, but a failed conception of a movie, which was, I think, set to come out 9 years ago, 2012. This Johan Adiyayam Andrew movie. That's a shame that he's not had the chance to work with this guy. By all accounts, he's an absolute force of nature, but hopefully they can get it together and can work together finally. And this guy who just seems to be Stephen, he's massive. We've seen it with the first reaction to Master, or not reaction, the actual teaser to Master. It blew up. So this guy, no matter what he does, he's got that loyal fan base who are going to follow him. And he's right. He says that he hopes that he can work with him once again. I says to you, I bet he does, because this guy is absolute gold. So hopefully they get it together. I don't know what the story's going to be about, but I'm sure Thalapathy will make the best of it no matter what, because this guy he's absolutely immense from what I've seen, and I can't wait to get down his filmography and look at other movies.
I mean, you touched on it there, and I would say that Collywood is no different to Hollywood in terms of a handful of actors that have that sort of pulling power, that they can actually dictate a script from the studio rather than the other way around.
Yep.
Now, the interesting thing about Thalapathy Vijay is he's not just an actor. He is he's a producer, he's a writer, he's a director, and he's also a great singer and a great dancer.
Man, yeah.
But he's just got bags of energy. That was one of the things that blew me away about watching those trailer reactions. And then when the comments come in from our community telling us how old he was, 47, I was blown away by that.
I think he's 46 just now. He's just about to turn
John,
47.
I thought he was in his early 30s. I thought he was probably about your age.
Yep.
He looks it.
Don't remind me I'm in my 30s, Stephen. That depresses me. He
looks it and he moves like it. This guy is just full of life, and that transpires onto the screen as far as I'm concerned. Watching Master on Thursday, I watched it. Watching that, it got me so pumped, and it was because of this guy. Obviously, the writing, the director as well, and his co-stars. But something about this guy just gives you, life, gives you energy while you're watching these films. I told you when we were doing the review that every time he was hitting, I can't remember the guy's name, the character's name, But yeah, Bhavani. Every time he was hitting him, I was like, "That's it, get the bastard, punch, fuck at him," you know. And I got really wound up with it, and that was because of his energy. He just got me in that sort of place, you know. And I can't wait to get into this filmography of this guy, because there's so many gems out there that people are talking about, advising us to watch, and I can't wait to see them.
Well, Stephen, I'm looking at prominent, I hope, Tamil actors, and the ones that are springing out is Kamil Hassan. I think he was in one of the trailers. I don't want to go out to say it was Vikram, but I think it may have been Vikram. And Ahmad Haven. They're the other two names that are really springing out to me. And our sort of brush down these movies. Surya as well is ones I've seen. So there's probably a very small handful of actors from that region, as you did say, who could probably go to a studio or a filmmaker and say, look, prepare a script for me. And they'll go and do it, because they want of them, because they're absolute box office goals. So regardless of what it is, I, having watched Master now, will go back and look at this guy's work, and I will be paying close attention to what he does moving forward, because I really, really enjoyed the performance. He was an absolute standout in it, alongside what was the other guy? Was it God, I'm blanking on his name now. The little juvenile reformatory character.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now.
His name was the same as the character's name, but I'm blanking on it.
His surname, yeah.
Obviously Vijay Thalapathy as well, but he was the absolute man in this movie, so I'll be keeping an eye on him moving forward. I'm going to look for that guy's name, Stephen.
Yeah, well, John, will you look for his name, and I will move on to our next topic, and it's staying on Thalapathy Vijay, and it's something that we talked about after we did our scene reaction. It wasn't a trailer, it was a scene.
Das.
And it was a deleted scene. Das, that's it.
Arjun Das.
It was the scene that was removed from Master. We reacted to it, and then we questioned why we thought it was removed. I think you were very close to actually the reason for it as well. More than myself, I thought it was more down to dialogue. I thought it was maybe too close to the bone and a bit graphic. But you actually were closer to the truth now.
Well, Stephen, I recall the prominent news article that was just a week prior to us reacting to it about some ridiculous law that had been put in place that people could inappropriately touch young kids through their clothing, and it wasn't illegal. So that came out right away. I'm like, that's dodgy shell. Then we've seen that sort of touching upon a similar concept. You put two and two together, it's very easy to see why it's been done. There's obviously that issue with the government over there. So, but we'll get into it.
John, this is coming from hansindia.com, and the title is Why Thalapathy Vijay Got This Scene Removed from Master. Now, I'm not going to read the whole script here, John. I'll just read the sort of main sort of bullet point. And it is believed that Vijay himself had this removed, this scene, fearing objections from the government. In this particular scene, Vijay has spoken about women's rights, safety of women, dress restrictions for women, and also about the atrocities against women. Thus, Vijay has spoken about the current scenario of women's plight. The scene has been removed in spite of a good and strong message, but an actor who doesn't want to disclose his name is said to have stated that the scene was removed not to cut the length of the movie, but to avoid embarrassment to the government.
Absolutely,
so
Stephen.
What's your thoughts on that, John?
Stephen, I touched upon it, and I did predict that would have been the issue, and it doesn't surprise me. There seems to be a strange sort of relationship with these local authorities, the government in India, and obviously this women's rights issue. So he spoke very passionately in the scene. It was a great performance again. I was surprised it was cut out of the movie. People were suggesting it was down to running time. I thought, not really, come on, it's 2 hours, 45 minutes. I've watched longer movies than that. A 5-minute scene's not going to make any difference. And it would have added something to that relationship with him and that young student from the college. I'm pretty sure it may have been the same.
I assume this deleted scene would have been roughly
around the start,
near the beginning of the movie, yeah.
It would have probably been around the college election period, I think. I don't think it would have disrupted the pace and the
just before the chase scene,
yeah. It's just before that, Steve. So it doesn't surprise me that it's probably Vijay himself who's come out, and he probably doesn't want the controversy. He doesn't want maybe the bad blood that's going to stem from pro-government, I don't know, supporters or something like that. He'll probably not want that. He'll just want to be having a simple, chilled life. And look, it's been out anyway. They've released it as a deleted scene, so the message is out there. And it's not out there via the movie. He can maybe disconnect himself from it. He's still got that message out there.
Yeah.
It was a great scene. I loved it. And everything he says is probably bang on. Stephen, I've heard, I don't want to get down that route, but I did hear in the past, some horror stories about things that have happened to women over in India. Just horrendous. Guts getting ripped out and everything, with getting stabbed in buses and things like that. There's some horror stories. of things that have happened to women over in India.
Yeah,
So
horror stories all over the world, John.
yeah, there is all over the world. Of course, there is, even here. So I'm not surprised Vijay is a prominent sort of spokesperson for that, and he wants to have his voice heard. And it's amicable. Yeah. It's not amicable. That's not even the right word. It's, what would be the word? I'm trying to think. It's encouraging that you have a guy in that position willing to put yourself out. But ultimately, they've cut it out of the movie. It's his choice, and you've got to respect that guy's choice. He's the star of a movie, and what he says goes.
I think most of our community would share your sentiments anyway, because judging by the comments after we did the reaction to it, mostly were in support of this scene being left in the movie. Yeah. If you noticed that, I don't know if you picked up on that or not, but most of them were very unhappy it wasn't kept in the movie. I don't, as you said, it's not down to pacing or running time issues or anything like that. This article actually does tell you the reason why. Maybe it's because of his position in Collywood as well. Maybe it's to do with the fact that he knew this was going to be a massive hit. He knew the anticipation for this film, the focus, the attention it was going to receive. He knew in today's technology, you can put scenes like that into bonus extras. You can put it on YouTube, wherever you want. People, to get the message out, like you said, John. So I don't think it would have been too... in the olden days, I don't think it would have been too painstaking for Thalapathy Vijay to delete this scene. Maybe 30 years ago it would have been, because it wouldn't have probably seen the light of day until, years later. But the message is out there, it's loud and clear, and I think it's worked well anyway. The film was close to perfection. We rated it B. B, was it? Yeah.
B, yeah. Which is the highest you can rate a movie that's not utter perfection for us. There's going to be very few movies getting an A rating on our channel. Very few. It'll be a very rare thing. Stephen, look, I'm reading the article. They're saying most of his fans love the scene. They love the message that's being portrayed in this scene, and they are up in arms as to why it's been cut out of the movie. And ultimately, they're saying it's to avoid embarrassment on the government, and they're trying to avoid some maybe objections from the government. So he's wanting an easy life. He's got the message out there. Everyone's a winner. His message gets out. The movie doesn't suffer. There's no government and objections. And look, man, as I keep saying it, I can't repeat myself enough when it comes to this guy. Charismatic as hell, a great actor, can sing, can dance, and he's got some great messages to put out there as well. So ultimately, man, what's not to like about Vijay? What's not to like about Joseph Vijay, is it? Or Thalapathy Joseph Vijay, if you'd like. He's just a great, great guy. But look, man, I'm done, Stephen. I don't know if you're done. I'm twirling my own there. I think I should finish and put this down. What's your thoughts on the subjects we've touched upon on this show tonight? What do you make about Spike Lee dabbling with the concept of making a Marvel movie? If you've got anything to say about that one way or another, you can comment down below. What do you make about the whole Halloween Kills shenanigans? Is that something you want to see hitting a theatre, or do you really care, like us, whether it goes to a streaming service or not? You can comment down below if you have anything to say about that as well. We can talk about Black Widow, we can talk about Thalapathy Vijay. If you have anything to say at all, the comment section is the place for it. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, hit the follow button on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future, and you will duly get more if you do. But look guys, until then, bye bye.